It is day 32 of the war with Iran. Here's where things stand. Gas prices have topped the $4 a gallon mark. That is the highest that gas has been in 4 years. Donald Trump now, though, appears ready to call it quits, head for the exits, potentially leaving Iran in some ways in a stronger position than before the war began. The Wall Street Journal is reporting this, quote, Trump told aides he's willing to end the U.S. military campaign against Iran, even if the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. Administration officials said, likely extending Tehran's firm grip on the waterway and leaving a complex operation to reopen it for a later date. In recent days, Donald Trump and his aides assessed that a mission to pry open the choke point would push the conflict beyond his timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. Trump decided that the U.S. should achieve its main goals of hobbling Iran's navy and its missile stocks and wind down current hostilities while pressuring Tehran diplomatically to resume the free flow of trade. To be clear, the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes, is only closed and in need of a complex operation to reopen it because of the war Donald Trump started in Iran. Iran seizing the strait was an entirely foreseeable consequence. Reporting from multiple outlets shows that intelligence had predicted and warned that this would happen. And now Donald Trump is considering leaving the Iranian regime in charge of this critical choke point when they did not have control of this critical choke point before the war started. This is the plot twist, though. Trump is now demanding that the same U.S. allies, who he denigrates and insults and didn't consult before the war started, fix it. Donald Trump all but confirming that reporting in the Wall Street Journal with a post on Truth Social that reads in part, quote, build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just, all caps, take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore. Just like you were not there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil, exclamation point. That is your president, ladies and gentlemen. The sentiment was echoed by Pete Hegseth today, who had this to say.
There are countries around the world who ought to be prepared to step up on this critical waterway as well. It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well.
Who you calling big bad, Pete? But importantly, the Royal Navy and the United Kingdom, frankly, none of our allies started the war, and none that we know of were particularly read in. Trump administration started the war. According to Marco Rubio, we did it because Israel was going to strike. Anyway, here's the damage that will be done if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Again, according to the Wall Street Journal's reporting, quote, the longer the strait remains closed, the more it will roil the global economy. Multiple countries, including U.S. allies, are reeling from the downturn in energy supply that once flowed freely through the choke point. But according to Trump and Hegseth, it is up to those allies who were unwillingly plunged into this crisis, the one we created, to now get the world's energy supply out of it. Our friend Tom Nichols writes it like this, quote, it took almost a century for the U.S. to build a global system of trade, security, and cooperation, and these guys are going to throw it away because they screwed up and have to save face, end quote. Donald Trump openly mulling, cutting, and running from the global oil supply crisis he created at the expense of our allies and the global economy is where we start today. The aforementioned Tom Nichols joins us. He's a staff writer at The Atlantic, a contributor to The Atlantic Daily newsletter, as well as a professor emeritus of national security affairs at the U.S. Naval War College. Also joining us, Wall Street Journal national security reporter Vera Bergen-Gruen is here. Also joining us, our friend, Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. He served as the commanding general of the U.S. Army in Europe. General Hertling, I start with you. Your thoughts on the public utterances of Donald Trump?
Well, if I can combine those with the derogatory utterances of the Secretary of Defense, between the two of them, I'm not sure what each day is going to bring to us, Nicole. We are Now, over a month into this action, as you so eloquently said, was started by President Trump, was reinforced by Secretary Hegseth and his actions with the military, and it just has gotten worse every single day. You know, you read the comment by Tom a minute ago, and both of us, both Tom Nichols and I, were part of the administrations over several decades that tried to secure alliances and build trust with other like-minded countries. That has all been thrown away in a 30-day time period, not just in Europe, but in the Middle East and in the Far East. This is what we're going to face. We've been saying for weeks now that there was no easy way out of this. I guess none of us considered the fact that the president would just say, I'm going to end my part of the war right now, even though it takes more than one to end a war. It takes both sides to do that, and in this case, many sides to do it. So we're in for some really damaged global supply chains, with many of the links having been broken over the last 30 days. And we're going to suffer the consequences of this, even though the president is now telling our allies to have a free-for-all and go into the country and just take oil. Most of our allies, I would assume, know that that's a war crime, and they also don't have the capacity to do the kinds of things that President Trump wants them to do. So, again, this is one of those courses of actions that all of us could have seen coming. And in fact, we've talked about it multiple times on this show. When you don't put military forces in line with diplomatic and economic and informational elements of power from the United States.
General, what is the impact of an American president who also has the job of the commander-in-chief tweeting in such I don't know the most sort of diplomatic and accurate word, but this is insane and erratic way. I mean, one day it's to the oil companies, just go in, basically, you know, man up. The next day it's to our allies, will you man up? The next day it's, you know, we're going to go get the uranium. I mean, the head-spinning way that the headlines are created by Donald Trump's own expressions of whatever they are, his insecurities, his fears, his glances at what's happening inside his own coalition, they are, to news consumers, ridiculous and mockable. And they're why he's at 33%. It's why he's ranking the lowest approval rating in the Fox News polling. It's why Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene are in open revolt. It's why Rand Paul is being platformed on prominent broadcast shows. It's why more Republicans are talking about running for office against Trumpism than ever before. But what does it do inside an operation like the military, where Donald Trump's other official role is the country's commander-in-chief?
Well, it's not only within the military part of the operation, Nicole, it's also with the families and with the supporters of the military, those who know how challenging it is to conduct combat operations, to put together a campaign, to have military forces conducting missions that contribute to national strategy. You know, it's a surprise to me, as you just read that Truth Social post and mentioned some other things, that now it's okay because we've defeated, or not destroyed, but defeated the Iranian Navy and destroyed a bunch of their weapon systems. Not all, but quite a bit. And that's enough now to say, well, that was our strategic end date, or end state, rather. Those were not the strategic end states all along the last 30 days. They've changed dramatically day by day, week by week. And truthfully, Nicole, I'm not even 100% sure that we might not get another Truth Social post tomorrow morning that goes back to, hey, we're going to spend another 3 months in combat until we open the straits. It has been that jaw-dropping of a whipsaw over the last 30 days that, to answer your question, how does this apply to the military forces? You know, I heard the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs this morning saying, oh, we've got some forces over there and they can do multiple things. No, they can't. They can do one mission at a time. And that mission only comes when you give it to them and say, here's your campaign plan in order to accomplish these political objectives. If you keep whipsawing the military and have them stationed in an area of operation for a very long time when the mission keeps changing, it will certainly affect the morale. But more than that, I can tell you for the, let's say, 10,000 Marines and soldiers that are over there, as well as the 50,000 onboard various carrier strike groups, they've got a bunch of family members who for the last 30 days have been really tense about what might happen to their soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine. And now they're in an area of operation. No one knows when they're coming home. And those loved ones are back there saying, I'm proud of what my military person is doing, but I don't know what the hell is happening and how they are being used. I'll add one more point. The allies across the board are seeing President Trump, and I'm sure many of them will admit to what he is. But the concerning part to me is we are now associated with all these actions as the American people, because we're allowing this to happen without our Congress stepping up or without people voting for someone who's sane in terms of conducting these military operations.
Is it the sense, General, that he's not sane?
I can't judge that, Nicole, and I won't, but certainly there are some things that are being done that can be questioned, that's for sure. Anyone who is taking on the mantle of the President of the United States, who will not listen to people and understand how military operations work, how diplomacy should proceed those military operations, and who concludes after 30 days of threats and intimidations that they can just stop and let the world go about their own actions to depend on global supply chains, really doesn't have a good understanding of how things work.